Young lovers, Gina Allen and Brandon Day, are on a day trip from hell. Lost in a freezing mountain wilderness with no way out.
We're stuck. We're completely stuck.
If you make a mistake, you probably will die.
No, Mom, of course, I will.
We met in the spring of 2006. Within a couple of weeks, went on our first date. And a few days later, he asked me to go with him to California.
I had qualified to go to a national sales convention. I'm a financial advisor. I was allowed to bring a guest with me and thought it'd be a really good time and invited her out with me.
At the end of the convention, Brandon and Gina head out on a day trip to a nearby beauty spot. The couple dress light.
I'm gonna leave my purse here, so maybe you could take these for me?
His pockets full, Brandon leaves his mobile behind.
We were only going to be gone a couple hours, or I guess so we thought.
Among the most rugged wilderness regions in the US, Mount San Jacinto is the second highest peak in Southern California. With no access road, the only way up or down is by cable car. And while temperatures can hit the 80s and 90s on the desert floor during May, the summit is still dusted with snow.
It was totally perfect. And I guess you just think, you don't have a care in the world at that point.
What? What is it?
You hear that? Sounds like a waterfall.
Unused to this kind of environment, the city dwellers from Dallas, Texas, don't realize that the mountain is playing acoustic tricks on them. While the sound of the waterfall seems nearby, it is actually rebounding off the hard rock walls and echoing around the mountain.
We eventually did find the waterfall, which was not impressive. We took some pictures, which didn't turn out very well, and then decided to turn back.
Gina and Brandon have 20 minutes to meet their tour party at the cable car station, but going back the way they came is not easy.
We could hear voices, but we couldn't really match up with them.
Meanwhile, the rest of the tour party has descended without Brandon and Gina. Despite Brandon's determination to find the mountain station, the dense pine forests and steep rock faces block their path.
And so at that point, we decided, okay, we have to start yelling for help.
Hello? We're too short. Must have taken a taxi back.
The most immediate danger for Brandon and Gina is hypothermia. Lightly dressed, they're at the mercy of the plunging mountain temperatures, which can drop well below zero at night.
I really felt responsible. It's one thing to put yourself in a bad situation, but to put somebody else in a bad situation is tough to stomach. Well, that night, yeah, it really got to a level cold that I've never experienced before.
Brandon and Gina survive a long, cold night in their makeshift shelter. Exhausted, they've had nothing to eat or drink in the last 24 hours.
In my mind, I'm going through a checklist, okay? There's a series of fail-safes. You know, first off, the tour bus had a head count and a list of names. So they would have known we didn't make it back on the bus. At dinner that night, you know, some people from my firm would have noticed we're not there.
Unfortunately, the fail-safes have not triggered a search. With the convention winding down, Brandon's work colleagues have not noticed their absence. Brandon and Gina climb further up the mountain, thinking they need to go higher to reach the cable car station. They're in for a shock.
Oh my God.
There's no sign of the station. Gina and Brandon now realize they've crossed to a different ridge of the mountain.
See that creek? The creek running there?
We made the decision that we're gonna try and walk our way out of here. We're going to try and follow the mountain river, and it has to lead out somewhere.
What Gina and Brandon don't realize is that between them and the river is some of the most treacherous terrain the mountain has to offer.
We slid on our butts, I guess, with one leg straight out in front of us, the other leg bent up.
You know, if we make a mistake, we're either dead or we're hurt to the point to where we probably will die.
The mountain is too steep and treacherous to climb back up. Brandon and Gina are now committed to sliding down the rest of the rock face.
4 or 5 o'clock, we finally make it to the bottom.
Under normal circumstances, Getting wet would be an inconvenience, but with night approaching in the cold mountain environment, it could spell disaster for Brandon and Gina.
Instantly, I'm soaked, from the thighs down.
In wet clothes, Brandon is now at real risk of hypothermia.
And she sat on my feet throughout the night, trying to help keep them warm.
Their hotel computerized booking system has automatically checked them out. But the rooms have not been made up, so no one knows they're lost in the mountains. They've been driven on by grit and sheer determination. Then suddenly, signs of life appear in the distance.
All of a sudden, you just get this feeling of, oh, I think we made it.
Brandon and Gina realize this is not your average campsite.
Stuff had been buried a little bit by dirt. We don't hear anybody, we don't see anybody. It's just a very ominous feeling. So we start going through the bag, the contents of the bag. We're discovering these maps, and there was obvious writing in the white space.
This is today. This is May 8th. Someone's here. We're gonna be okay.
No, Gina. It's May 8th, 2005.
How have we found this exactly 1 year ago, to the day?
May 8th, 2005. Took a fall. Too weak to climb out a canyon. Down is gorge. No way out. May 11th. I'm 60 today. Here, May 14th. Heading down to creek for water. Goodbye and love you all.
To go from such a high to such a low in such a short amount of time was just something that shakes you.
In digging through all of his cards, I see his name is John Joseph Donovan. At that point, I took his bag and I gathered up everything I could, because in my mind, that's somebody's dad. And somebody's dad didn't come home.
For Gina and Brandon, the horror story they find themselves in is unrelenting.
What is it?
What?
What's it?
Again, the water gets us every time. And that's where we see the gorge that John had talked about. We were completely stuck. He had the maps, he had the compass, he had everything, and he couldn't get out. So how the hell are we?
But the missing hiker, John Donovan, has left Brandon and Gina a lifeline.
When I was gathering water from this pool, I did notice something out of the ordinary, something that didn't seem right. I think really maybe part of me knew what it was, but the other part of me didn't want to know, at least not at that point in time. That's when I made the decision, I'm gonna light the whole place on fire. And it took much faster than I anticipated. It burned for about 45 minutes or so, produced a great deal of smoke. There wasn't a cloud in the sky, and the thought was, I mean, they have to see this. And now about an hour's gone by, and it was the most beautiful sound we'd ever heard, because coming up from the valley floor is that sound of a helicopter. I think we both would have cried if we had tears, but we're both so dehydrated, we didn't have enough moisture in our body to come up with tears. But, you know, the pure joy of knowing you're gonna make it out. We're just so thankful to John Donovan. Certain people just have a way of leaving their mark.
John Donovan's remains were recovered 3 weeks later. The Navy veteran was buried with full military honors. Gina and Brandon stayed together for 2 years after the ordeal, and then separated.
You're in the hands of the ocean, and you can't do anything about it. It's either you're gonna suck it up and you're gonna try to survive and hang in there, or you're gonna give up and you're gonna die.
Best friends, 17-year-old Josh Long and 15-year-old Troy Driscoll, head off to Sullivan's Island, a popular fishing spot just off the coast of South Carolina.
The weather was great. The part of the beach that we put in was actually very calm.
Josh has only just finished rebuilding the boat. It has no engines or sail and is completely untried at sea.
We actually never used the boat before we put it in the ocean.
What's with the wetsuit?
I know, in case you might want to swim or something. The water's still a little cold.
What are you, a baby?
What you say?
Nothing.
I was having fun. I was bouncing up and down.
Wow, man! Whitewater style.
But in their excitement to go fishing, the boys don't check the Coast Guard warnings. There's a powerful riptide forecast for that morning, right in the waters where they're paddling.
And we were almost to the sandbar when we just got hit by the current.
Hey, we're drifting.
I figured it was a joke, you know? So I was enjoying the moment. I was, hey, this is fun, you know? We don't have no control. You know, hey, this is great.
Wow, man!
But, you know, Josh then grew real serious real quick.
The boys are fully caught in the riptide, and it's dragging them away from shore and out to the open ocean.
The first night was filled with a lot of emotion. Our mood, you know, went from being, okay, we're gonna get rescued, to, okay, you know, why are we still here? There should have been a boat, there should have been a helicopter, you know, what's going on?
You know, when we looked out that morning, there was nothing. We realized that we were, you know, so far off that we were gonna, you know, the land was now out of the option.
I did a 360 as I twisted around. I saw nothing but waves and ocean, and there's nowhere to go.
Out at sea, Josh and Troy are battling the elements. They've drunk no water for over 24 hours.
So thirsty.
And are experiencing severe dehydration. Their bodies have lost over 3 pints of fluid, causing muscle cramps, headaches, and extreme disorientation. They're desperate for something to drink.
Very hot. I mean, there's pretty much no clouds in the sky. As the day progressed on and it got hotter, the water was very clear. Our mouths became drier and we were just thirsty. So it was almost tempting to drink.
The boys wake on their third morning with a sense of despair. Then, on the horizon, a ray of hope finally appears.
Hey! Hey! Help! Help us! Please! Please help us!
It looked like a matchbox boat, you know, so little.
Hey! Help us!
A fishing boat is passing, just 100 yards away. The end of their ordeal is now surely only moments away.
Help us!
We yelled at the top of our lungs, tried to get somebody to see us, you know.
Please help us!
But it was like a needle in a haystack. We were so small.
Help us, please!
They just turned and kept on going.
Please help us! Come on! Come on! Why don't they see us?
It was good to see something else, but you know, they didn't stop. So you know, we lost a lot of hope.
The boys begin to realize how unlikely it is that they will be spotted in the vast ocean.
We knew that there was no way they're going to find us because the ocean's so big. And if they hadn't found us yet, they weren't going to find us.
And how helpless their situation now is.
You're in the hands of the ocean, and you can't do anything about it. It's either you're going to suck it up, and you're going to try to survive and hang in there, or you're going to give up and you're going to die.
Of course, we both cried, saying, we don't want to die yet. We're too young to die.
You know you're dying, but you're dying slowly, and it's painful, and it's long, and every second that you're alive, you're dying at the same time. I knew I didn't have much longer.
In fact, their dehydration is now so advanced that they literally have only a few more hours left to live.
We should write something down.
Summoning the last of their energy, the boys scratch out their final goodbyes to the families they're leaving behind.
We loved them, and we're sorry, and I thanked everybody for their support. And basically just said that I'm sorry for what happened.
I remember writing to my mom and my dad, you know, specifically saying, thanks for everything you've done for me. Thanks for teaching me what you've taught me.
Josh, I hear something.
Well, as me and Josh laid in the boat, I heard the roar of a boat again.
It's getting louder. Looks like it is you. It's getting closer.
I see this huge fishing boat coming straight at us. So at that time, I jerked Josh. I was like, you gotta get up.
Josh, help us! Hey, help me! Help us! Please, help us!
I was crying, but at the same time, it was like I wasn't crying because I had nothing to cry. I was just screaming, hey, please help us. Please, we need help.
Over here! Help! Come on! Over here, please!
The two boys are just a speck in the ocean. But unlike the boats on previous days, this time they've been spotted.
So basically, we knew they saw us. We kind of just started, basically just gave each other a huge hug, and we're like, this is a miracle, I can't believe we're actually getting saved.
Come on, guys! One at a time.
The captain reached over and, pulled me up because I barely had any energy to get up. And, I flopped on the deck.
Need some water! Any water? Get you up here. You okay? You okay?
I couldn't understand them because they were whining, whimpering, happy, sad, the whole 9 yards. But one of the first things that Troy said to me, he asked me if I believe in God. And I said, well, yeah, I guess I do now. Because miracles happen.
Some water, please. Hey, thank you, man. Thank you. Got you, man. You're safe now. You're safe. So lucky. Yeah. Better now, huh? Catch me through the Coast Guard.
But as the helicopter makes its way over the mountains, it becomes clear something is wrong.
I could feel the helicopter sort of tip ahead a little bit. I thought, well, maybe it's out of balance or something.
The helicopter suddenly spins out of control and plummets to the ground.
I didn't even have time to put my hands up, and then my face flew right into the top of the roof of the helicopter. I remember all of a sudden going, that looks kind of close. And then boom, we hit. We went sideways and we flipped 8-9 times.
People were screaming and hollering and stuff was flying in every direction. First thing I thought of was, you know, you don't live through these kind of things.
All of a sudden, I was falling. And then I was thinking, this is really bad.
Journeying into the heart of the Transylvanian Alps, a remote region of central Romania, is Ken Jones, a former British paratrooper in search of a holiday with a difference.
I think I'm quite a nomadic person. I tend to spend quite a lot of time on my own. I've always got an urge to travel or go off and do things. It just seems to be in my blood. I get restless and I need to go.
Sheer athleticism and extraordinary determination bring him within reach of his goal. But as the sun sets, he must decide whether to make a last-ditch push for the top or retreat to shelter and make a second attempt in the morning.
I kept hoping that the snow level would change or be a bit more friendly to me. I kept walking a bit more, not quite wanting to give up, but doubts started coming into my mind as to whether I'd make the top that day. I knew the quickest passage was down the fire break between the trees. I didn't want to go anywhere near it again, but I had no choice. I had to go down it.
But taking this shortcut is a serious gamble. In his race against the light, Ken decides it's a risk worth taking. But his luck has run out. The mountain is about to show him how lethal it can be.
And the next thing I knew, it pulled me off my feet. I was utterly terrified. It swallows you and engulfs you. You can feel all your bones and organs inside, everything's rattling. All of a sudden, I was falling. And then I was thinking, this is really bad. I landed on my ass and I heard a massive crack. And that was my pelvis shattering and the head of my femur snapping off. I must have lost consciousness. I lay there, not knowing what was happening or where I was. I sat up and started assessing my situation. As I put my hand to the side of my leg, my left hand felt wet and sticky, and I got a big open wound on a couple of inches on the side of my left hip. It was bleeding quite heavily.
He needs to act quickly to prevent further loss of blood, which could harm his chances of survival.
I managed to force myself to roll on my side. pulled a first field dressing from my pocket. And that seemed to stem a flow of blood. And after I dressed it, I pulled my trousers back up and I decided not to look at it again.
Ken faces a long night ahead. The idea of being alone in the middle of nowhere preys on his mind.
The scenarios that are running through my head were, I don't know, what if I don't get through the night?
If he falls asleep, his body will stop shivering. He'll develop hypothermia, and he'll die.
I was shivering so heavily I knew that I'd fall into the last stages of hypothermia and I'd never wake up.
With no food and his water bottle already drained, Ken sets out on his marathon journey down the mountain.
It seemed that the environment was just conspiring against me constantly. It felt pretty harsh and cruel, and you just become aware of how savage the mountains and the foothills can be.
It's been 48 hours since the avalanche nearly took Ken's life. Fighting his way through the snowstorm takes every last ounce of energy. And the cold, hunger, and dehydration are driving him to despair.
I woke up the next morning and I just thought, oh, you're not dying. You're still here. And it's like my body wanted to stay alive. I'd come to a standstill the night before and heavy snowfall had landed on me and totally cocooned my body, and I think it must have kept me alive and kept me warm. And I decided to start crawling again.
His shattered hip means every move is pure torture. Only his incredible fitness and superhuman reserves of willpower drive him on. In spite of the pain, he's confident the worst is over.
It'd be stupid to even conceive of it getting more difficult. I've just got to get to the track. It's not going to be far away. One big final effort today, and you know, I'll be safe.
Ken's never-say-die attitude finally pays off. He escapes the savage wilderness and reaches the road where the taxi left him 4 days earlier.
It came as a massive relief to finally reach the track. But I still knew I got a long way to go. It was such a relief to be walking. It seemed like there was no more enemies or obstacles. I felt it was more or less home and dry.
But his ordeal is far from over.
And eventually I turned a corner and I saw a light spill through the trees. And it brought a smile to my face. I just thought, I've done it, and just realised what an honest, faithful servant your body is. And I just felt really proud of myself then. I knew I'd got a strong heart and character and I could get through things. I'd fought for my life, and there was no sadness or bitterness towards the mountain or anything that happened. I'd made it back. And It was just so comforting to be with someone and realise that it all come to an end. I was safe.